Today I'll be speaking about longtime Gambino associate, Jackie Scat Scaccio. I've known Jackie since I was a little kid, and he knew both my parents from East New York, Brooklyn, where they all grew up. My father had told me a story that when Jackie was a teenager, he worked as a waiter in a pizzeria in East New York named Carlucci's, which was located on Eastern Parkway. And when my father and his friends would go there for a pie and Jackie was their waiter, they would leave pieces of the crust, which spelled out the words tip and fuck you. I remember mentioning the story to Jackie one day, and he said, "Do you think that was nice what they did to me?" For the record, Jackie was not a tough guy, not at all. He grew up as an only child to his parents, Tony and Jenny, who I knew very well. After leaving East New York, like most people, they moved to Ozone Park, where I grew up. And when I would run away from my house, it was their house that I went to. One time I got punished for eating an entire pint of Haagen-Dazs ice cream. So I escaped and went to Jenny's house, and Jackie lived with his parents. His mother, Jenny, wanted to know what happened, and I told her that my father punished me over the ice cream. She said, "That bastard," and took out ice cream from her freezer and put it in front of me and told me, "Here, eat all you want." Since his younger days in East New York, Brooklyn, Jackie became associated to Nicky Carrazzo, Lenny DeMaria, and Nicky's brothers, Blaze, Anthony, and JoJo. Over time, Jackie became an associate to Nicky and was put in charge of the number spots that they had in Harlem and Brooklyn. I remember going with him one day to collect the money. One of the smaller spots, people were able to bet a nickel. They would put the money in shopping bags, which at the end of the day filled up the whole car. Jackie's father, Tony, had an upholstery business in the city, and he had an apartment on First Avenue that was passed down from his father, and he used it for the days that he was too tired to drive back to Queens. When Tony passed away, Jackie moved into the apartment. By the mid-'80s, he wanted to get out of the gambling business and pursue a career in the food industry business and move to Florida. Nicky Carrazzo was not happy at all, and he made Jackie pay $10,000 just to get out of the business before he left for Florida. He still kept the apartment on First Avenue, which was under rent control. I think the rent was only about $200-300 a month. But Jackie didn't stay in Florida long and came back to New York, where he was able to get a job in Zaro's Bakery as a food manager. When I was in prison with Ernie Grillo, he told me that when Jackie came back from Florida, Nicky Carrazzo told him to keep an eye on Jackie. Ernie's family lived across the street on First Avenue, where Jackie had the apartment. Nicky wanted to know if Jackie was back in the gambling business, either for himself or for somebody else. And he told Ernie that if Jackie was, to give him a beating. This never took place because Jackie was working a legitimate 9-to-5 job. After Zaro's, he worked at Sabaro's Pizza for a while, also as a manager. By 1996, Nicky Carrazzo was arrested while in Florida on a racketeering case, which was followed by more indictments as well as prison time all the way up until his release in November of 2019. Throughout my incarceration, Jackie always visited me and remained close to my family, especially my children. By the time I was released in 2007, he was back around the Gambino family and staying with Blaze Carrazzo, who by this time was an inducted member. Jackie was famously known to be on the frugal side. One time he took a girl out to dinner and was upset by what she ordered and told everyone, "Could you believe she ordered asso buco?" Which made Blaze start calling Jackie cheap. Jackie knew what they were saying about him, but he really didn't care. He would complain to me that when he was out to dinner with Blaze and his crew, Blaze never wanted to pay and had everyone chip in. When I was inducted in 2013, one of the first guys I was introduced to outside of the Lucchese family was Blaze. I was talking to Johnny Sideburns one day outside of his house, and Blaze came walking down the block, and Sideburns introduced us. I knew Blaze since I was a kid, and he also knew my parents from East New York. At the time, I was living in Long Island, and Jackie would always come over to visit. One day while he was over, he pulled me to the side and said, "I heard about you. You better be careful." I asked him what he was talking about. He said that Blaze told him that they straightened me out. I couldn't believe that Blaze spoke to him about that. Nevertheless, he did. Jackie did well for himself and was proud of his stock portfolio that he acquired over the years. He eventually retired from his last job at Lenox Hill Hospital, where he was a senior retail manager. He invested in a 2-bedroom condo in Delray Beach, Florida. When he first purchased it, he told me not to tell Blaze because he didn't want him to come down there and plop his ass in the condo, as he put it. But he eventually wound up telling him anyway. Out of all the guys, Jackie respected his friendship with Lenny DiMaria the most. Lenny's a very likable guy. Jackie was someone who loved being around people, not only wise guys, but ordinary people as well. He loved going to the feast in Williamsburg and would always get me a scapula every time he went. He was very close to his parents and took their debts hard, especially his mother's. I would always tease him about willing me the apartment in the city. I'm sure Blaze expected an envelope from Jackie every Christmas, but being Jackie wasn't involved in any more rackets, that money would come out of his own pocket, which definitely killed him. But for the most part, he enjoyed going out to dinner with Blaze and the guys. And Blaze also complained about Jackie to me. Even my mother would tell Jackie to stop being so cheap. He told her one time that he heard mice in his apartment in Manhattan, and she told him to go buy some supersada and put it in the mousetraps. He told her that he went to the deli near him, and the guy got mad at him because he only wanted to buy a couple of slices instead of just getting a quarter of a pound. When he would buy peppers in the supermarket, he would snap off the stems so they wouldn't weigh as much. One time, someone was with him while he was getting gas for his car and watched him hold the hose all the way up above his head to make sure every last drop went into his tank. But that's just the way Jackie was. When I finally walked away from the life, I had just returned from Savannah, Georgia, and I went back to work in Manhattan. And I met up with Jackie one day, and we spoke about what was going on. He felt bad and couldn't understand why everything was happening. He even offered me his condo in Florida, but I told him, Delray Beach, you see everyone from New York there. He even offered to cash in some of his stocks to give me some money, but I also declined. And for Jackie, that was a major offer. I'm sure he was relieved when I told him no. Please keep in mind the like icon and like this video if you haven't already. And for anyone who'd like to help keep this podcast going, you can do so by using the super thanks icon or the other methods mentioned in the video's description. At some point, Blaze went to Jackie and told him that he shouldn't speak to my mother anymore. Jackie knew my mother almost as long as I'm alive. He was so upset that Blaze would tell him such a thing. He even told me, I don't understand. Blaze always spoke highly of you. I explained to him, it's nothing personal. That's just how things are in that life. Even if guys believe you weren't treated right or falsely labeled, they're not going to admit to it. They have to go with the flow. At the end of the day, Jackie chose his loyalty to my family and me over the mob. After all, he's known me since I was a kid. And also would speak to guys who knew me, who told him that they screwed that kid. I always reminded him, Jackie, don't slip and let anybody know we speak. They'll hold it against you. Unfortunately, Jackie became sick during the pandemic and passed away while in hospital in Florida. A memorial service was held for him in March of 2021. And by the way, he never went on a second date with the girl who ordered the osso buco.